Eating sweets has long been associated with pleasure and celebration, a treat enjoyed by people of all ages around the world. Yet behind the irresistible allure of sugar lies a complex relationship with our bodies, particularly with our cardiovascular system. For many, the idea that something as innocuous as a piece of cake or a handful of candies could influence blood pressure is surprising. But scientific research has increasingly shown that regular consumption of sugary foods can indeed contribute to an increase in blood pressure, a key risk factor for heart disease, stroke, and other serious health conditions. But why does this happen? What is it about sweets that affects our blood pressure? And what mechanisms are at play within the body? To understand the connection, it's important to first look at what happens in the body when we eat sweets. Sweets are typically rich in simple sugars, most commonly sucrose, glucose, and fructose. When you eat something sugary, your digestive system quickly breaks these sugars down and they are rapidly absorbed into your bloodstream. This sudden influx of sugar causes your blood glucose levels to rise sharply, prompting your pancreas to release insulin. Insulin is the hormone responsible for helping your cells absorb glucose for energy or storage. But the impact of sugar on blood pressure is more intricate than just a quick increase in blood sugar. One of the main ways in which sweets can influence blood pressure is through their effect on the body's metabolism and hormonal balance, particularly in relation to insulin resistance. Over time, frequent consumption of sugary foods can lead to higher and more sustained levels of insulin in the blood. This state, known as hyperinsulinemia, can eventually cause cells to become less responsive to insulin, a condition called insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is a well-established risk factor for high blood pressure or hypertension. When cells are less sensitive to insulin, the pancreas compensates by producing even more of the hormone. High levels of insulin can trigger the kidneys to retain more sodium, a mineral that plays a critical role in regulating blood volume and pressure. The body holds on to more fluid to dilute the excess sodium, and this increased fluid volume raises blood pressure. In addition to influencing sodium retention, elevated insulin levels can also stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, the part of the nervous system responsible for the fight or flight response. Activation of the sympathetic nervous system causes blood vessels to constrict or narrow, which increases resistance to blood flow and, consequently, raises blood pressure. Chronic stimulation of this system by high insulin levels can therefore contribute to persistent hypertension. But sugar's impact on blood pressure doesn't stop with insulin and the sympathetic nervous system. Another key player is fructose, a type of simple sugar found in many sweets, especially those containing high fructose corn syrup. When the body metabolizes fructose, a series of metabolic changes occur that are different from the way glucose is processed. Unlike glucose, which is used by nearly every cell in the body, fructose is primarily metabolized in the liver. This process can lead to the production of uric acid, a waste product that, when elevated, has been linked to increases in blood pressure. Uric acid can reduce the availability of nitric oxide, a molecule that helps blood vessels relax and widen. When nitric oxide is in short supply, blood vessels remain constricted, which increases resistance and raises blood pressure. Regularly consuming high amounts of fructose can further exacerbate this problem by promoting the accumulation of fat in the liver, a condition called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. This, in turn, can worsen insulin resistance and set off a cycle of metabolic disturbances that contribute to higher blood pressure. Another important aspect to consider is the effect of sweets on body weight. Sweets are calorie-dense, but often lack the nutrients and fiber that help us feel full. This can lead to overeating and gradual weight gain. Excess body weight, particularly when it accumulates around the abdomen, is a major risk factor for hypertension. Fat tissue, especially visceral fat stored around the internal organs, is metabolically active and can produce hormones and inflammatory substances that further drive up blood pressure. Obesity can also physically compress the kidneys and blood vessels, making it harder for the body to regulate blood pressure. The combination of these mechanical and hormonal effects means that people who consume large amounts of sweets over time are more likely to gain weight and, consequently, to develop high blood pressure. It's also essential to recognize that eating sweets can influence other dietary habits and choices that affect blood pressure. Many popular sweets are highly processed and often contain significant amounts of sodium, either as a preservative or to enhance flavor. Regular consumption of sugary, salty snacks can easily push daily sodium intake above recommended levels, compounding the risk of hypertension. Moreover, when people choose sweets, they may be less likely to eat healthier foods like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins. These nutritious foods are naturally rich in potassium, magnesium, and fiber, all of which have been shown to help lower blood pressure. A diet high in processed sweets and low in these nutrients can create an imbalance that makes it harder for the body to maintain healthy blood pressure levels. The impact of sugar on blood pressure is not limited to adults. Children and adolescents are increasingly exposed to high-sugar diets, often through sugary beverages, candies, and processed snacks. Research has shown that even in younger populations, high intake of added sugars is associated with higher blood pressure readings and increased risk of developing hypertension later in life. Early exposure to high-sugar foods can set the stage for lifelong patterns of unhealthy eating and metabolic disturbances. There's also emerging evidence that sugar may have direct effects on the blood vessels themselves. Chronic high sugar intake can lead to a state of low-grade inflammation throughout the body, damaging the delicate lining of the arteries and making them less flexible. Stiffened arteries require the heart to work harder to pump blood, leading to increased pressure within the circulatory system. Furthermore, inflammation from high sugar intake can impair the function of the kidneys, which play a vital role in regulating blood pressure by controlling the balance of fluids and electrolytes in the body. Long-term kidney stress can lead to chronic kidney disease, another potent risk factor for hypertension. It's worth noting that not all sugars are created equal. Naturally occurring sugars found in whole fruits, for example, are accompanied by fiber, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants that help slow the absorption of sugar and provide health benefits. The problem arises primarily with added sugars, those introduced during processing or preparation of foods. These sugars are quickly absorbed, cause rapid spikes in blood sugar and insulin, and lack the beneficial nutrients found in whole foods. Given the widespread consumption of sweets, public health organizations have issued guidelines to help people limit their intake of added sugars. The American Heart Association, for example, recommends that women limit their daily intake of added sugars to no more than 25 grams, about 6 teaspoons, and men to no more than 36 grams, about 9 teaspoons. However, studies show that many people consume far more than these recommendations, often without realizing it, due to the hidden sugars in processed foods and beverages. Reducing the amount of sweets in your diet is not just about avoiding obvious sources like candy and soda. Many savory foods, such as breads, sauces, salad dressings, and even some processed meats, contain added sugars. Reading nutrition labels, choosing minimally processed foods, and focusing on whole, nutrient-dense options can help keep sugar intake in check. For those who already have high blood pressure or are at risk, cutting back on sweets can be a powerful step toward better health. In addition to lowering blood pressure, reducing sugar intake can improve insulin sensitivity, help control weight, and reduce the risk of developing diabetes, heart disease, and other metabolic disorders. It's also helpful to adopt other lifestyle changes that support healthy blood pressure. Regular physical activity, maintaining a healthy weight, managing stress, and getting enough sleep all play important roles. Even small changes, like swapping a sugary dessert for a piece of fruit or choosing water instead of a sweetened beverage, can add up over time. In summary, the relationship between eating sweets and raised blood pressure is multifaceted. It involves the interplay of insulin resistance, sodium retention, sympathetic nervous system stimulation, increased uric acid production, weight gain, inflammation, and changes in kidney and blood vessel function. While enjoying sweets occasionally is unlikely to cause harm for most people, Regular and excessive consumption can set off a cascade of metabolic changes that elevate blood pressure and increase the risk of serious health problems. Understanding these mechanisms empowers us to make informed choices about our diets. By moderating our intake of sweets and embracing a balanced, nutrient-rich diet, we can support healthy blood pressure and overall well-being, ensuring that treats remain a source of enjoyment rather than a hidden health risk.